10 minutes late, a lot of technical difficulties this morning. Maybe some of you stuck with us, maybe some of you did not stick with us, but we are live and rolling on, I know, YouTube, Substack, and Facebook. And we will rerun this on Apple, iTunes, iPod, our podcast, as well as Spotify live down the line. But Mara, welcome to Drink Up Live podcast.
Hi, thanks. Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's
Happy
great.
Saturday.
Yeah, happy Saturday. I know it's early there. Are you in Los Angeles area, California?
No, I'm in Chicago. Nope.
Oh, you are? Okay. Okay. I was thinking LA for some reason, but and you were working with Breakthrough yesterday in Chicago?
Yeah, we had a trade show down in Cicero, an emerging brands trade show. I was all over the place yesterday,
That
actually.
is that is awesome. I love that. Are you in the cities in Chicago or where are you at?
I'm in the suburbs of Chicago, but I feel like I cover a lot of ground.
And we're running live on LinkedIn, by the way.
Oh,
Uh,
there you go. Who knew?
who knew? Who knew how this works? Well, a couple of things just to get out of the way. We just got to call our sponsors real
Yeah,
quick, if you don't mind, and we'll get right into it. I
of
want
course.
to thank Adam Smith from Alias Advising. He can't be here this morning, so he sends you his best. Obviously, Alicia Vargo, and I think you guys were trading messages back and forth from Bev Assets. So thank you, Alicia, for the support there. And then Ryan Hellerman from Rocks Advisors. They obviously have a group of folks that can help a brand do from logistics all the way to take the brand to market. And then our favorite sponsor is Jay Williams. I'm out of water, Jay, so I can't show the can. I guess I should just keep a can to show. But Jay has a product called Freebird, believe it or not, the song Leonard Skinner. And somehow he got the rights to that name, which don't ask me how he did that, but he did. But Mara, it's so wonderful to have you here. I know you've had a heck of a journey. I don't even know how we found each other, but we did. And you're sitting here on the Drink Up Live podcast, and really excited to have you.
I appreciate it. We probably connected through LinkedIn. I feel like that's my favorite platform.
Yeah, it's like the only one that I have a little bit of mild success. I've tried like YouTube, Facebook, Substack. Doesn't seem to resonate at this point, but I do love LinkedIn. I made a lot of friends here. And you're based out of Chicago? Um,
Yes.
yeah. So
Yes.
you
We
tell
have
me
a
a little bit about
lovely
the
day in
brand, but
Chicago today.
yeah.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the brand, Inspiro. Is I'm saying right? Inspiro Tequila?
Inspiro. Yes. So
Inspiro
Inspiro
Tequila.
tequila. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a circuitous path how I ended up here, but from being a lawyer at a large law firm to working corporate strategy, to being a stay-at-home mom with three kids for many years. Although maybe that seems like a direct path to why I started drinking tequila. But Inspiro Tequila, I found it in February 2020. It was kind of the impetus to it was two things, and I know you've heard this story, but really, it's kind of like pretty basic. It was two things. One, I've been a tequila drinker, found out everything I was drinking contained undisclosed additives. I had absolutely no idea there were additives in all the tequilas, even the fancy ones that I was drinking. I want something additive free, but still really approachable, easy to drink. And then the other thing is that all these women, my friends, everyone kept saying they're like, had kind of converted from vodka and soda to tequila and soda, and everyone was drinking tequila. And all these women I knew, and I thought, well, if all these women drink tequila, why do brands not focus on this consumer? And when they do, you probably know this better than me because you've been in the industry much longer, but they tend to dumb down the product for her. They put in like hot pink bottles or make it fruity flavored. I'm like, no, I actually think she likes really good quality. She's like an educated, thoughtful consumer. I think she would really like a great quality craft tequila um, that is just positioned more and marketed towards her. So,
So
you just
she is
don't.
your target. Her.
Yes,
She.
me.
Okay.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because this is a consumer I understand really well. And I think that's best if it comes from a consumer that you can really understand, like where to find her, what she cares about. It's not that men don't drink tequila, men love the tequila. It's just when you look at things like the place we want to be at, the account. If you look at like our marketing, you don't see anything on any of our social media that It's like scantily clad women and like dark club scenes. It's just not something that would resonate with me. So you don't see that in any of our materials. It's
Yeah.
light, it's bright, it's pretty, it's elegant, and that's kind of like the visual effect. And then also just being a really like easy to drink. I don't love like harsh alcohol forward
Right.
tequilas. And so that's what we like set out to do also.
And where's your nom?
Yeah, so it's NOM 1614, Tequila Tap. We were actually like the second supplier in there. Um, at the time, they only had Tres Agaves, and then we joined, and now they have like maybe 5 or 6 suppliers. That was that's the current product that's in the market right now. But we brought our own master distiller in. We brought Ana Maria Romero Mena in to create our taste profiles. So we run every production run ourselves. We don't buy any bulk tequila and like tweak it. Um, and then since our next run that will come in, we're really excited. We actually moved to distillery that she is part of, and it's a brand new, gorgeous distillery. We were actually the first production run they did last July. We are still waiting to get product out of there because regulatory things and getting permits and registrations has
Yeah.
taken a very long time, but we're really excited. We were the first production run there and love the facility. But it's the same, everything still has Anna Maria's, kind of thumbprint on it. So,
Wonderful. So you started in January of 2020, so that's around COVID time, right?
yeah.
So what was the impact of that, or what was I mean, I think you gave me the impetus of why you started because you were looking for what she could enjoy, right? Which you're talking about you, but you're relating to her, which I
Yes.
love. I love how you speak about your brand. Um, so you were a corporate attorney, correct?
Many years ago, yes.
Yeah.
I did commercial real estate secure transactions. I worked at like the largest law firm in Chicago. So, but then I went from there. I left law. I was there for many years and then I left and I went to join the corporate strategy group at McDonald's Corporation. So I was on then the business side. And that's kind of what sparked my entrepreneurial spirit. We were like studying consumer trends and insights and looking at ways outside of the core business that the business could grow. So it was really kind of fascinating. But then nothing goes according to plan. I actually end up my career came to a very abrupt halt because I became pregnant with my oldest kids who are twins. They're great now. They both graduated college last year, but um, I ended up on emergency bed rest and then had preemie twins. So I left my corporate career. So my most recent job was with the 3 most, difficult bosses of my life. And that was as a stay-at-home mom of 3 kids. So because my youngest is 9.5 years younger.
Yeah.
But
Were those
um
your first two, your first? I mean, 1 and 2, the twins?
yeah, my twins. And then I have a third, a little boy.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're describing us. We have 2 girl twins and a boy. And
Okay, then
Susan went through
twin life. It's like all like just chaos and I don't even know what was going on for the first year.
yeah, and Susan was on bed rest for 12 weeks, by the way.
Yep. Yes. So um I was on bed rest for 3.5 months, so very similar. So that was that was quite another journey. But yeah, when I had these preemie twins, I just thought they really needed my attention, and so that's when I decided to stay home and leave my corporate job. Something I never anticipated. I kind of never saw that in my future, but I'm very fortunate that I had that option. So after staying home for many years, though, I knew I wanted to start something. I knew was going to be a product based business,
Yeah,
just because I've been in service based. I really wanted to do something that product like bring something to life. I love everything in the better for you category in general. And really, because the reason it was tequila is because what I said about like I kept coming back to it because I thought there was room for innovation. Even though there are many, many brands, I still thought there was some room for innovation and positioning
right.
towards a different consumer. And as far as your question about COVID, it really did impact it, but in like a good and a bad way, even though COVID was like a horrible situation.
Yeah,
One, I couldn't get to Mexico for a very long time. So that was very hard because it was closed. Every time we'd like schedule a trip to go down, it was closed. I couldn't go down to do my first tasting down in Mexico till May of 2021. Um, I remember even going down, like I had to go through, like before I could even enter the distillery, I had to go through like a drive-through COVID testing center in Mexico to go to the distillery. Like there are so many protocols in place.
Yeah.
So that was hard. On the other hand, I had a lot of time to do a ton of research because we were home and we weren't going anywhere. So that is what I did. I just started like studying everything I could. I took a course offered by the CRT in Mexico, the governing body of tequila, and the production and history of tequila, and I became certified. And I just took that time to research everything I could. I read books. I subscribed to every industry newsletter. Granted, I also had 3 kids, homeschooling, so that was kind of like a nightmare. But
Wait, so you founded a brand, you have 3 kids you're homeschooling, and you're educating yourself about the product that you want to bring to market that she's going to enjoy.
yeah, and the entire industry, like understanding 3 tiers and studying the laws and everything. Like I just dove in deep, and um, so it gave me time to do that. But what I'd say the benefit was for me, um, I am always looking to learn from other people who know more than me. And it could be like in anything. It could be like spirits industry, tequila, marketing, digital. Like I just like to learn a lot. And this is,
Yeah.
the biggest learning curve. And people I never would have been able to connect to, I suddenly had access to.
Right.
Because let's say it would have required, let's meet for coffee. Well, that's like a 2 hours out of someone's day by the time they drive there and go. And I probably wouldn't have got the meeting. This ability to set up a 30-minute Zoom call with people opened a ton of doors for me to connect to people and to meet people. So that part was really helpful.
So COVID was a blessing. It was funny when it first went in. I remember we went to this thing called Zoom or Teams. I guess we were using Microsoft Teams, and we were trying to figure out our whole process. Sorry, there's a noise. My daughter decided to talk and doesn't realize that I'm on a live podcast. But that's what
We
happens
can't
when you
hear.
go live. You can't. Yeah, she's it's one of the twins, by the way. She's 32, by the way, 32-year-old twin. So
Oh my God.
anyway, Susan, I'm on a. Thanks. Anyway, so I'm a train of thought. So it helped us like with Zoom. By the way, what you just experienced, that's what we experienced on Zoom too. People are like dogs are running in the picture, kids are talking a whole bit, but you're right. It gave you an opportunity to actually connect with a lot of people in a much easier way. You're saying.
Right. And just get the meeting. I feel like meetings that I probably would not have been able to get before.
So tell me, so you've been doing this for 6 years, right? You're this brand. So I guess so, right? We're going on to 7 years eventually, right?
It feels like dog years some days, and sometimes it feels like we're just getting started, and then other times it also at the same time also feels like, um, you know, like that we've been doing this for dog years. Every
Yeah.
year
So we,
feels like a
we
lot longer.
well, it's funny. We talked to a lot of brands. We probably, Alicia and I, and she's been doing this for 2 decades. A very successful entrepreneur. I've been doing it for 4 years, so I'm junior to you and her. But we talked to a lot of brands, and there's 5 types of brands we talk to: foundation, build, scale, or build, grow, scale, and sustain. Right. And every foundation brand we talk to, a lot of them. Sorry, I don't know what the AI is doing, but every time we talk to them, they expect that they're going to scale like in a year. And from your estimation, you're at 6 years. Where are you at? You're not foundation. Are you like build, grow,
I'd
or are
say
you
I'd
scale?
say build to grow. I think we're really focused, honestly, and disciplined, and we've talked about this because we've talked about markets and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, of not trying to be everywhere, and trying to like actually build the foundation in certain markets
Right.
first. So I think that's where we're at, is that we focus on like, I'm very focused on like 5 key markets, and I'm not trying to be in 20. That is not even like, I think it would be spreading ourselves too thin. So I think that's kind of the discipline of it, is we only want to be, these markets, everything from like even accounts. Like I don't want to be, in every account, we want to be in the right account. So I just think that is like a little bit more of how I view it, as opposed to just trying to be like everywhere.
I love the build to grow. What you just said is that you're building to grow and then the focus on 5 markets and then actually going into accounts that matter. And when you and I first met, you had shared that with both Alicia and I and where you want to be. Now, how is that strategy working for you today?
I think it's effective, at least first and foremost in our home market where we look at it. This is like it's a really a great test market for us in Illinois because we're in different types of channels. Like for example, in Illinois, and you know this, and the people who understand the industry will know, but like these channels all work very differently. So by being in we're in traditional grocery. We're in like Jewel Osco here. So traditional grocery channel. So what works in traditional grocery? We're in natural grocery because we're in Whole Foods. What works in that, a natural grocery, and then we're in like, independent retail, chain retail, like a Benny's. So understanding and seeing like what works well, I think is a great way to test and learn and figure out how you can replicate that in another market. So that is kind of what I would say is like we put a lot of effort and time into figuring out and in really scrappy ways. I think that's hopefully where you come in. Sometimes when you come in with an outsider perspective, you're like, well, why do you do it that way? Maybe you don't have to do it that way. Is there another way? I think I've been very vocal about my view on like demos at some types of accounts and the ineffectiveness of that. And like, is there another way to build? Where is it more effective for me to do, I did 7 events this week and have people trying product at events where I'm going to have a lot more people coming through than a random person standing in a store doing a
So
demo
wait,
who doesn't
so
know our
event,
brand.
what's the difference between an event versus a demo? Just drill into that a little bit.
Yes. Okay, I love that question. Because so yes, when you're at an event, you're not at the point of sale. And people ask me, in fact, just yesterday, someone asked again, well, can we buy it here? I'm like, nope, I would go to jail. So nope, you can't buy it from me. I'm like, and I don't look at an orange. Um, so a demo is really going into a retail account and standing in the store and getting people to try the product. It is so dependent on um, the specific store and the exact time and day that works as well. I went to a local retailer just yesterday evening just to see how things are going. It was 6:30 on a Friday. It was absolutely empty because that was too late in the suburbs of Chicago to be at a retail store because everyone's already at dinner. So it is
Yeah.
so specific of finding the exact right time and day and how many people are going to come through. And the person working that is also really important. So if I'm doing it, this is what I've been posting about often on LinkedIn. I did tons of founder demos at Whole Foods. I did a whole like round of them. And yes, they're effective because I was doing them. You go like then the next level would be if someone from like a team, then they can like tell your story and share it. But you're like many levels away once you're using someone who is totally unfamiliar with the brand, no matter how much you try and give them information and training. I watch them all the time. I've secret shopped like every single one of them when we've done them. I've had people standing next to me. I literally walked up to someone who asked me if I wanted the brand new vodka, and I looked at her like, what? It's tequila. Because she was selling my
Oh, she's like,
brand.
"You want a brand new vodka?" And
Yeah.
she's tasting your tequila? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. It was kind of, that was a nightmare. But yes. So it's just right. And no matter how much, it's not like that they're not good. It's a different level. The incentive structure of what you're doing. And it's just, I think it's hard. I think if you have your own ambassador team, I've heard about brands who are doing that and building that. That is like my ultimate goal is having your own. Like I would love all these moms who maybe want a side gig or like just to like start dipping their toe back into the workforce because they don't have a lot of time. Like, hey, can you do something for some hours a week and do it? Like people who would just be excited about it, passionate, excited to
Yeah,
learn.
familiar with the
Um,
brand Carbless, Adam Corner,
yes.
that's how he built his brand and his ambassadors, and he rewards them too. He'll have, like, the big check. They've been with us for years, and he transitions them into salespeople. That's how he built his business, by the way.
I think it's a great model. I think,
Yeah.
if I'm fortunate to find someone, I actually am lucky. I have a woman who like has volunteered to kind of help me run that because it does take a lot.
Yeah.
Like with a small team, that managing all the ambassadors, making sure did everyone show up, do they have what they need, and you're doing demos places. But I think that would be the most effective what I found for me as a like one human being, what I can do
Yeah.
most effectively because it's hard for me to be at every place and every store.
Yeah.
And you never know who's going to come through. Doing a lot of events. So, right, so in my home market here, at least initially, um, I show up. I mean, I did 30 events just in Q1 this year. So,
Wow.
going to events, especially like professional women's groups, like all last week was Chicago Tech Week. I am not a tech founder at all, but
Yeah.
I had like 7 events for Chicago Tech Week showing
Wait, so you
up.
go to, wait, so you're selling tequila, but you're at Chicago Tech Week?
Yeah, because they do all these events. I did a poker tournament. I actually played in the poker tournament on Monday. They had my tequila. I was part of like Chicago Sports Tech Week. They did 2 events. They did pitch competition. We're the tequila. They did a fashion show. We're the
Wait, this
tequila.
is a tech
Like
business, so you're pitching tequila. I'm confused.
they're
So,
trying it. These are
all right, all right.
consumers. No, it's
Consumers,
not pitching. I'm not pitching
so these
tequila.
events, it doesn't have to be like a beverage event. You open my eyes to something here that you
Oh,
can
it's so much
participate.
better because I don't have any competitors. I don't have a huge activation. When I do like I'm doing an event Monday for a women's big like a networking thing that we co-host and we have like 90 professional women signed up, founders, leaders in Chicago and they're coming and their only cocktail and their only option is going to be Inspiro Tequila, and no one's going to have this huge activation next to me, and they're going to hear me and get to hear my story. They're going to be much stickier consumers.
Oh my gosh, yes, and plus you've 90 new friends
Right.
versus basically Bobby the bartender standing behind the thing trying to sell you a vodka. I mean,
Exactly.
at a tasting event, you're onto something. That is, and has that paid dividends to you? Have you been able to kind of look at like the
Yeah.
conversion of that?
It's very hard to measure, even though we try and use QR codes and things like that. But people don't tend to like redeem their rebates on QR codes, in all honesty.
Yeah,
Um, But I have people reach out to me afterwards, like, oh, look, I mean, they feel like then, right? They know me. They've connected with me. They know. They send me a picture. Like, text me, send me a picture. They're connected with me on LinkedIn. They're following the story. I met it, and I think of every single one of those, I meet someone who is going to be helpful or relevant. They're going to
yeah,
introduce me to someone. They have an introduction. They're going to be, I mean, one woman I met at an event, and like then she randomly text me, I'm having my 40th birthday party. I love your tequila. Can you send me some recipes? And where should I go and buy it? Like, where's the most helpful? They'll even ask me, like, where should
yeah.
I go get it? What's the most helpful for you?
Does your website tell you where you can go find your product?
Yes,
Got it. And then,
it
here's a
does.
question for you. So obviously we're talking about what it takes to launch a spirits company, right? So you discovered this new way of how you build your business. I'm assuming you didn't discover that the first few years of what you've come across to build your brand.
Um, you know what? I actually started doing events, even if it was like small ones, like right away. Like I have
Oh,
some
okay.
friends, and in fact, I have friends who love tequila, and then I have actually their husbands are like these kind of tequila geeks who do like collecting and like love tequilas. So one of the first
Got
things I did, honestly, I had everyone do a blind taste test in like my backyard.
it.
I had friends over and I had them do a blind taste test.
Was
So
that
I
the
was
first
doing
event
that.
in your backyard?
That was probably one of the first. Yeah. And then I had someone, I had like all these girlfriends from like every like way I knew them over for like National Tequila Day. I hosted it in my backyard and had and served and had a that one I actually hired a bartender to serve drinks. I'm not like a great mixologist. I'm really good at making a tequila and soda on the rocks. So I had someone make drinks. Um, yeah. And mostly what we've done, which I think has been very helpful and cost effective for us, is join on other people's events. So I get people that were like, we're doing the women's golf outing. Can you come and do a tasting and a hole or whatever? Like, yes, it's time for me and things like that. But I don't have to like organize the whole thing and pay for the whole thing. So we tag on, which is my favorite thing to do, like just great complementary events that would be good events for us. So like I've done the Women in Law Coalition or Women in Finance or anything. People have something going on, they ask us. And it's a little different than like when people ask you for requests for like galas and stuff. Like tons of people ask for donated product, right? But I made a kind of a rule when it comes to like that or like festivals. I don't do anything where no one remembers what they drank 3 drinks in.
Well, that's like if you go to these big beverage events, they're like, yeah, we got the food. There's all these beverages. By the time they get to your table, they're drunk. and they don't know what they've experienced, right? I mean, that's at least been my
Totally. And I don't
experience.
remember what was in the cocktail. So I try and only go to things where, which is very hard because we're a small team, where we have like a presence, where someone hears me speak, or I'm at a panel or a founders panel, or I'm standing doing a tasting next to the bar where I can talk to people about the product. So that to me is like really important because I want them to have like the connection.
So this is a competitive market you're in. I mean, tequila, like there's a lot of tequilas that exist. Like it's amazing. Like I've been selling tequila since the 19, I guess I went to work for Diageo or was Hubline back in the day, like the 1990 something. But anyway, Cuervo was the only thing you'd really find on the shelf. Now you walk the shelf, there's like this sea of tequilas. How do you stand out?
There are a lot of tequilas. And I think though we can kind of like reduce the market a little bit to like where I see the market for us, like that we would
Yeah.
think is our competitive set. First of all, you have a lot of huge brands and you see the mass market brands, which have been like declining, right? Like 2025, they declined like 1.5%. And then you see the craft brands, which are actually growing.
Yeah.
And where I see us fitting is that there is not a lot in the, and then the craft are all like many of them are more competing on like heritage process. um I'd say not a lot of them are focused on, if any, maybe like one or two focused on female consumers. And then having this kind of like fitting in where we have this approachable, usually you either have sweeter note tequilas, but it's because they're artificially sweetened, and like the mass
Hmm.
brand where you get, or you have these craft that are like maybe like a little more alcohol forward. And so we sit somewhere in the middle of that. And I also think um, we have a great production process. We have a great master distiller. We don't necessarily have to, like when I talk about doing these events, she doesn't really want to hear about the terroir and my exact like cooking methodology and all that. She wants to know I'm basically giving her a better option, like elevating the kind of like bad tequila she's been drinking. I'm going to say bad in quotes, but like, whatever has additives in it.
Yeah.
You should drink what you like, but like, she just wants to know, okay, oh, here's like a cleaner version of something I already like. But I don't think she wants to hear. So I think it's a little bit different also positioning and how we kind of address this consumer. I don't want to make it that it's, just not approachable. I said the taste profile is approachable, but I want the brand to be approachable as well. So I think we stand out. One, our bottles look very different on the shelves. It's this tall, skinny, pretty, elegant bottle. I made it so it's slender in the middle, easy to hold and pour. So like looks like an elevated, but I want to make sure the juice is just as good quality. But when I talk about it being approachable, like, you know, how do you do a tequila tasting? You taste it neat in a specific glass and things like that. But I'm not going to dictate how people have to drink the tequila and that you have to have it in a certain way if you want to have it in, a margarita, a paloma. So I think that's part of it too. Like we don't take ourselves so seriously as well that you have to like, I hope you appreciate the craft that went into it and tastes much better on its own or in a cocktail. But I think that's the piece of it too. It's like we're
So you let them
just
kind of have their own individual experience and what they want to experience. If they want to know about terroir, great, here it is.
exactly.
If you want to just enjoy some tequila with your friends and you're looking for a really good taste, great, have at it. I think that's what you're saying. The
Exactly.
name of your tequila, how did that come about?
Yeah, so Inspiro is a Spanish word for inspired, and the company is named in honor of my inspirations, my grandmother and my mother. So both of them are. I just was very fortunate to have these like really strong powerhouse women in my life who, I guess, gave me the confidence to believe I could do anything, including, who knew, start a tequila company. Although I don't think they ever saw that in my future. As someone who studied accounting and then went to law school, I don't think they saw a tequila owner in the future. But
Were you not in college? Were you in the bars, like the social chairman of your?
no, in fact, not at all. In fact, I met with a friend who I went to high school with yesterday, and he owns some bars and restaurants out here. And I met with him yesterday. I said, would you ever have seen this coming? Like I would have put myself more in the category of more of like a math nerd than someone who was. I mean, I was a pretty intense student.
It's funny. I was a student selling the books. Like, okay, I got half the semester gone. I got to get pizza and beer. I'll just sell those books. So anyway, but I got through. All right. So the additive free. I want to get into this a little bit. What
Yes.
is going on with that whole thing? I know it was like you could put additive free. What is happening now?
Oh my
How do you
gosh. Our
communicate that?
labels have changed so many times, which is why when I said that we had a production run that's been taking so long just to even get bottled,
Right.
like the label process has been taking so long because we switched distilleries so that the labels had to be changed. And
Right.
like every time we submit again, they have to they take one more thing off our label. Um, so it's nuts. So we used to be able to use, originally that Tequila Matchmaker had that confirmed
Yeah.
added free. So we had that on the labels. Then they said you couldn't use that anymore. You can't confirm anything added free. So then, but they were allowing you to put in just the words additive free.
Okay.
And then they said you take off the words additive free. Um, and then we had just no sugar, no carbs. And then they said you had to take off no sugar because that implies that it's additive free and you can't say additive free.
Why are they
So we
trying
have
to stop? Why are they trying to stop it?
so we have some bottles that have like a piece of tape over it because they're in bottles and they had to put a piece of tape over all of them. I'm like, oh my gosh. People are like, what's behind the tape? Um, because, you know,
I mean, that's a
obviously
loaded
there
question,
are
by the way.
players
Why
who have
they're
a
trying
lot
to
more
stop it?
power in this industry than we do,
Yeah.
um, who don't want that message going out. My feeling is we should have more transparency in all drinks. Like, I want to know what's in everything. My cleaning products, I look at what the ingredients are. I want to know what's in my like all my makeups and creams. I want to know what's in my food. So I think you should drink whatever you like, but I mean I think there should be some transparency in just knowing what is in
Well, I mean,
your
so when
drink.
you're at these events and you're talking to people, you can certainly tell them, "Hey, this is additive
Yeah.
free," just like you're doing this. I can't put it on the label because the I'm just not allowed to the way they communicate. But I can tell you what you're drinking here is additive free, and then I'm assuming you're very protective of the agave because it seems like they're taking the agave, they're just taking them out younger and younger each year, right? So, what's the average age of your agave?
Yes, we have a requirement that's a minimum of 6 years, certain bricks
Okay,
level minimum. So, um, and our last run was like really great, high, like amazing sugar content agave. I think we don't rush the process. So, but we're also not a big brand. So I tried to explain this. I actually did a LinkedIn post on showing just like how much agave goes into like we use an autoclave, like two autoclaves, which doesn't make a ton of tequila. It makes like 3,200 cases. It's not a lot, but it's a lot of tequila. So you can understand why big companies want to, industrialize the process to
yeah,
make more tequila much more quickly. So generally, when they're using the younger agave, right, you don't have the sugar content. So maybe they're using a diffuser process, which
right.
is, if you think about it, diffuser Blanco tequila can be made in like 60 hours versus the traditional Blanco that maybe is like 6 days versus ours that's like 45 to 60 days because we require it to stabilize for a minimum of 30 days. And then we rest our Blanco in bourbon barrels for a short time. And very
You
few
can
Blancos ever
communicate
go into
that,
wood.
right? You can communicate that.
Yes. Exactly. And so that's how we got sweeter notes without using any additives. But if you
Yeah.
think about it, if you take really young agave without sugar content and you use a diffuser and you don't cook it before processing it and before milling it, um, you're going to come up with like a neutral green
Is
spirit. And so you
using
have
like
to add
boiling, if I
something.
took like I'm boiling something on the stove, right? You're basically boiling the agave. Is that what diffusing is? I don't wanna.
That's what it is. They're like adding like hot water chemicals and they're like shredding it as it goes through.
Right.
I mean, it's like I've seen a number of diffusers. I mean, they're like these huge pieces of machinery. But if you come out with like a neutral grain spirit, you have to add something to give it the flavor of tequila. So now listen, that and people may like it and it works for them. So like I feel like if that's what you like to drink, great. If it doesn't make you feel terrible, fine.
Yeah.
I just think that for people who don't want anything added, they should maybe have the ability to find out if it has anything or
No,
not.
I believe in truth in labeling. I got a question coming in from Alicia.
Oh, sure.
Amara, can you touch on the kosher designation, the features and benefits of the choice, additional opportunities for growth in the sector? So kind of a couple questions there. So
Thank you. I
first on the
appreciate
kosher,
that.
yeah,
Yeah. So, some decisions I made as a business were actually less about business decisions. Kind of funny. I say that about being a certified B Corp as well. I did it because it like kind of aligned with my ethos. I don't know if there's a business benefit.
right.
Um, Kosher certification, we did it from the very beginning, being kosher certified. And, you know, I think there's a big opportunity there because there are places and specific areas and stores
How
and
about
restaurants
out
that would
Benny's? I was in a Benny's one evening
care about.
talking to Brett, the buyer, with my friend Jason. Maybe you know Jason Griffin, but anyway, so I'm like sitting there, and then literally a guy walks up, is where's your kosher section? So they walk up, he goes, then Brett leaves me, goes talks to someone. The guy walk out with 2 carts of kosher products.
Um, yeah, I mean, it depends on what area, but like in all honesty, it started because my whole family keeps kosher. So that is
Yeah,
kind of what like how it started is because like I wanted it, I mean, for my aunts and uncles and everyone to be able
yeah,
to drink it. So that's kind of how it started. And
yeah.
that's really funny that you mentioned Jason. He's amazing and he's my brand manager.
Is he really? He's a good friend, so I'll make sure he takes care of you.
I love
He
that.
he's pretty direct, so but he's a good person. He'll tell you exactly how it is, which I think suppliers need to hear that. And I don't know what your thought is. Just get into that a little bit. So you have these distributors that you work with.
Yes.
What do you? I mean, obviously they're great partners. We love them all, but if you're like a new brand and you're going to market or your brand, how's the best way to manage your wholesaler? And do you manage a wholesaler?
Yeah. And I think that that phrase is very interesting to me. And I have a lot of like opinions on that. So I love that. So
Yeah,
when people pitch, will manage your distributor, I always laugh and I reply back, there's no managing the distributor as a small brand. I went in, and even though things have changed quite a bit, I went in with eyes wide open from the very beginning
yeah,
that the sales are our sales.
right.
Um, and recognizing that. And then hopefully, you know, over time, like Jason's great and a fan of the brand, which we love and helpful for us, which is great. But you don't know who you're going to have and if they're going to be champions of the brand.
Yeah.
Um, so over time, you start to build some relationships, and I feel like in a huge distributor, like if I can build like even 5 good relationships with people who like really want, like who want to help or bring me
Well,
to
Alicia
appointments or
always
things
says,
like that.
find your best. Have you found your besties? That's Alicia quote unquote besties. Do you have your besties in the
Exactly.
marketplace?
And we do, but I'm going to say why it's really hard. So I'm very transparent when people ask me for advice. So I had a woman reach out recently. She's like, I just want to know what we should do. I think I should get a distributor now because I have a full-time job and I don't have time to sell. And I said, that is a very bad reason to want to get a distributor. And I was really
I'm with
honest.
you. Keep on going. Go ahead.
I was very honest because I said that's not going to happen. And listen, like there's been so many changes. You understand this, very well. We started forming relationships and finding our besties and finding some people. And then there were like, some of our distributors, really big layoffs. And everyone I had formed relationships with was no longer there and had different jobs, and they're all new people in the roles. So we had to like start from scratch again. So that's why I would say the really important piece is that you own the relationships yourself, because things change. Like,
So with the
and so,
accounts, you're talking about the
yes,
places that sell you, you need to be there
yes,
working the market because it's, I always talk about the word ghost distribution. I post about it all the time.
I know.
It's like, it's like you can go get a bottle placement in a bar or on the shelf, but if you don't go work it, it means nothing. Is this ghost distribution? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying that if the people change, who are if the key account
Champions
manager
of
for
your
that
brand, your
account
besties got it.
changes and, they don't have that account anymore and things change all the time, people get moved around. If I was just relying on them, so I feel like we have to have the relationship. Um, with the account. And just like I talked about, like a lot of focus on markets, on accounts, like we're also on accounts. Like I always tell people, like, I rather have 20 menus than 100 back bar placements. I want
Why?
like accounts that like move
Why?
and that feature us, because we are there's so many reasons why, but I'm gonna start with first. We are a more unknown brand. So no one is calling us out without knowing us.
Yeah.
So, right, you have to have a lot of brand awareness in a market for someone to call out your brand if it's sitting on the back bar, to know, like, oh, we want to replace my tequila drink with that. That requires a lot of brand awareness. And I think it's hard for a young brand. People are going to call out the big players they know,
Yeah.
right? Or they've heard of. Second, it relies on people sitting at the bar. I am I'm in an area where people are mostly sitting in a dining room and not necessarily sitting at the bar. And if you're sitting at a table in a restaurant, because we're less, I'd say we're more white tablecloth focused kind of brand. We're an ultra premium tequila. Someone sitting at a table, they never saw the bar.
Exactly. We go to our favorite Italian restaurant. I never go in the bar. I just go sit out and I order my favorite, my chicken and pasta, and I look at the menu
Right.
and maybe order a glass of wine, you know? So you gotta be able how
Exactly.
are they gonna discover you is your point, right?
Right. I mean, I sit at a lot of bars. I eat dinner and I eat meals and I sit at bars because they have the product. And I want to talk to the people and talk to the bartender. But like, if I wasn't doing this in this business and I'm going out for dinner with my family, I'm probably sitting at a table somewhere. But maybe when it's nice out, I'm sitting outside, even further removed, and I still have no idea what they had on the bar.
Yeah.
So unless you're listed or unless you're in a cocktail, and most people order the cocktail. So that is kind of how I look at it. Like, great, it's great to have something and maybe you see it in like a cachet account or something and it's up there. But um
Well, that's
it's
where
very hard to
wholesalers run
move product
everybody
that way.
I was a wholesaler for 10 years. I was with Breakthrough for 10 years. So that's how I know
I know.
Jason, by the way. So, we would do our brands a disservice by getting them distribution everywhere. Because they're like, okay, what is the universe of accounts that Tito's are in? I'm like 1,000. They're like, I want to be in 80% of those accounts. We're like, okay. And we go out and we get 80% of Tito's in distribution. Guess what happens 6 months later?
Well, they're probably still sitting there.
Still sitting there. They come, why? I got distribution. You're in charge of pool. I pushed it out there. It's not pulling. So what you're saying is if I can get on a menu, if I can go to create the pool and the opportunity for the brands. I always talk about Adam, friend, but he says, I don't go into a bar unless they put me on the menu and they put me some type of point of sale that tells
Right.
people that I'm here. And he goes, I just moved down the line because there's no if it's just gonna if they're just gonna put me in there for a favor, there's no reason. But as a distributor, we did everybody a disservice because we would go chase those numbers. I want to do 200 accounts in Q3 and pods. I'm like, okay. And then I'm putting incentive buy one, get one. That's just like I'd rather you spend your money on reorders, your money
Yeah.
on activations, your money on events versus paying the distributor incentive. I'm not saying don't pay the distributor incentive, but maybe pay them an incentive to do like a reorder or an event. Like if you get me on the menu and you take a picture of the menu and it's a permanent menu, I'll give you $50. I don't
Yeah.
know what you think about that, but it's something you
I
got to
think the
change the
days of
mindset.
incentivizing, I think, for us, obviously what you do and how we end up
Yeah.
talking, right, is having like your own salespeople market. I think the days of being able to incentivize, we've tried that. Like, there's so many that we were lost. I believe at the time that we tried incentivize like a big distributor, they had 460 incentives running. So like it just gets lost in the shop. I think having your own people
Yeah.
and making sure they're aligned. And when I say my own people, it's too expensive for any, emerging brand to hire their own full-time salespeople. So finding this opportunity to find shared salespeople that
Yeah.
have like a carry a complimentary bag, I think that's
Yeah.
the key.
Yeah, and there's a
And
lot of good
then
people, and
having them aligned.
there's a lot of good people out there. We founded the Beverage Broker Network. I guess I'm plugging it a little bit. You should check it out. But there's a lot of great brokers out there across North America, brands like you can plug into, depending where you want to go. Obviously, we have a business that does that too, but it's an open network for brands like you because why go pay, a full-time employee where you could take advantage of someone's expertise. And if they meet what you're looking for, because like you'll obviously talk to them, it's like if they meet what you want, right? You want them to be able to talk about the brand and really replicate what your effort is, right? And if you can build those ambassadors that you want to build, which I think is a great approach, that's going to pay you dividends in the long term and get you where you want to go. What's next? So a couple questions. And we started late, and I
Yes.
apologize. It was my fault. My microphone wasn't working. But
Mm.
what do you see next for the category, number one? And then I want to back it up with the question is anything that we discussed today that you would like to bring to the audience to convey?
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to say first, the category. Um, I think I think you see shifts. Obviously, you see shifts in drinking. You see shifts, and I think people do care more about what they are drinking. And I think there's kind of like less, but better. This moderation. I think you're going to see things. I think you're going to see different drink strategies of going to, like, now I just feel like you have a lot of this, like, either no alc or full alc, but maybe this kind of like low alc. Like, how do you come up with drinks that are maybe like somewhere in between,
Right.
but still using, like, you can still use foolproof, great, spirits in it. But like, how do you make something that's maybe like a little less boozy? I think that's like a really interesting one, and like something we play around with cocktail wise a lot.
Right.
Um, although it's like this total dichotomy, because you have that, and then you have all these, like, the most explosive RTDs are the ones that are like really have like are higher proof. So I don't understand where we're at exactly with that. That's why it's like there's a yin and a yang to everything in this.
Yeah.
But and I do see this. I think this, like, kind of craft brand growth will continue. Um, that you'll see more and more, craft brands, and probably some also dropping out because it is so competitive. Like, I think there's going to be some differentiator, some story, something unique about it that like resonates with people. Um, I think gone are kind of the days where, like, I had a life changing trip to Mexico and decided to start a tequila company.
Yeah.
Like that, I don't think is gonna like work anymore because there's just too many of those. And
I
I
do
think the
think,
celebrity is dwindling too. I think people are getting less and less enamored because there's just so many. And there was like this, like, every celebrity put their name on a brand, that actually I believe consumer sentiment last year was like down like 19% or something like that about around celebrity brands.
yeah, I mean, I mean, I don't discount celebrity brands. We talked to a lot of them for sure, but I think it's celebrity brands that are willing to do the work like you and I, right? Are they willing to go to the events and work it? If it's just a celebrity name and they're just pasting their name and they're not going to work the brand, it doesn't mean anything with the consumers. I also think you're onto this craft thing. I think people want to do like the best approach I would take a brand like you or anybody that's has a brand is like, I'm a local brand, you're a local operator. Why wouldn't you give me an opportunity to actually be
Right.
part of your menu? Not taking away from the big guy. I understand people are looking for that, but I'm a local person. I'm an entrepreneur just like you that I have a dream and I'm going to support my brand. And I think more people are open to uh, that
Right. That's what we
approach.
hope. And we're additive. Like, it's an additive addition, because maybe more people who are looking for something, it doesn't mean that they're still not going to call out like the big celebrity brands we know and still get
Yeah.
drinks with that.
Yeah.
But hey, here, offer something, and you could put something on there, People in Chicago especially, they like really resonate with, like, local Chicago. They have an affinity
Yeah.
towards our pizza, our hot dogs, everything.
Right.
Um, and what I would say to other people, my message is that talk to someone who has kind of done, like, listen, there are a lot of people, a lot of consultants, advisors, which is great. But I would also talk to someone who's like actually start a brand to really understand what is involved. I was fortunate. I reached out. I had other founders. Even if they tried to dissuade me, I still went. I went into it and decided to do it, but a little with eyes more open. So a lot of people reach out to me, but only reach out to me if you really want like the hard truth. Like if you want it sugar coated, be like, this is easy or whatever. If you want to know that I work like the kind of hours I work, and that yesterday I drove to, Elgin first to pick up a purchase order and then drive to Cicero and then come back and then drive to Evanston and then Deerfield. And like, if you want to know what like the reality is, that I was like the delivery truck as well.
I know. I think you
Um,
messaged me like at 9 o'clock last night or something. It was
yeah,
later in the day. It's like, yeah, I've had my day. So your day, obviously, I could tell went really, really long. But yeah, that's what it takes. It takes effort. And what's wonderful as a
right.
founder, you're willing to talk to other founders, that's one thing I love about this community is I meet so many folks like you, Alicia and I do, and they're all open to share their experiences with others, which I think says something about our category, I think, and what it means.
It is. And I also just talk to other consumer product founders to learn about, because I think you can learn from like other verticals also. And I'm a big believer in peer to peer mentoring. I think someone who's like in the thick of it understands it. I'm very fortunate. I have like a very big group of like female founders in general and
Yeah.
consumer products and female founders, then female founders and spirits. I love meeting anyone new because like I feel like I know most of the women who started, a spirits brand. And then I just have my like other spirits founders too, men and
Yeah.
women. And like we reach like I get texts all the time. Someone just asked me, like, hey, how's Whole Foods going? What are you
Yeah.
doing to make it work? Whatever. And I'm like, oh, here's what I like. But I just think you have to be willing to be like super honest and open. And I don't glamorize it at all. No
Yeah.
one's ever going to hear me being like, "Oh yeah, it's so easy." And when people like
No,
send
and
me a
our
message, they're like,
business
"You're
has been
crushing it," I'm like, I feel like I'm being crushed. So
yeah. Well, our business has been a man's world too. It's funny. I think it's really important. I love to see women be successful in our industry. I'm a big fan of that. Obviously, I'm very blessed to have a woman partner and my leader, Alicia. It's funny. She got a message yesterday, and I wasn't copying a message from another woman founder brand in California and reached out for Alicia. And it kind of read like, "Hey, Alicia, I want to catch up. And, before I talk to Sam and other people, let's have a conversation." I took that fine because I think there's a trust there, right? Because which is important. And I think the work you're doing to lift other people up and you're sharing and learning and also being innovative and looking outside the box. Cause I'm like, yeah, you should, if you do events, go to events. And you're like, no, I go to tech events, and I talk to, like, cause I'm the only one there. I'm not fighting for share of mind or stomach with my brand. Is there anything that we didn't discuss today that you want to convey? And I do have an important question I have to ask you at the end, but anything else you want to convey?
I think, we both know this is not for the faint of heart. You have to be willing to put in the hard work. But I think building the community, besides the hard work, it's a lonely journey as an entrepreneur. You're lucky you have a partner in this because like that like is helpful being a solo entrepreneur. But I think having building the community, finding community to support you. So
Yeah.
you have those people to bounce ideas off of, to find, to guide you, to like, here's another resource, here's where you can go. I think it's really, really essential. Um, because you have to like I feel like, your friends and family only want to hear about this so much, if at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
So having a community of people to reach out to and build, I mean, that's where I think you can utilize LinkedIn so effectively and really find people. I mean, I put on, you saw that, I put on, it was legit. I put on a shelf blade. I gave people three different messages and three different design looks, and I wanted the votes. Like, right? I don't want to make this decision in a vacuum without knowing
Yeah.
people. I had like hundreds of comments. People had lots of opinions, about like which shelf blade was the most. I was like, oh my God. And everyone was like different. But like I read every single one of them and I was able to like kind of narrow it down, like, oh, you know what? This photo of the cocktail over just the bottle, that resonated more. More people said that. Messaging, I took it and tweaked it. Like it was really helpful. And so I feel like even putting yourself out there and asking for
Yeah.
help and guidance, people, I love giving feedback. People love to get feedback and advice.
Yeah.
So I would say like ask for it.
That's amazing. And what's next for the brand and you?
Yeah, I think continuing to build, finding some people in certain markets to help us. Um, I think that's going to be essential, like finding like some key markets, people on the ground who can really um, help us, especially with, on premise. I think of it as like a much higher touch channel. Off premise, we do a lot of chain. So it's a little bit different because we can kind of do that more remotely,
Yeah.
and program and do that. But for the on premise, having people that are like
Yeah.
um, building it out more, and then our kind of focus on our, very specific states. And listen, my home market is always going to be the most important to me because this is where I live, where I am, where my family is, like everyone. This is where we go out to eat. So like, this is why it's so important to me that we have a like really big presence in my own backyard.
Yeah. And you're building that presence, right? Is Breakthrough helping you do that, or you have to really press them to do it?
They're helping also because I think now they know like how active, like we are the most responsive small team. I think they're like fascinated. Like with my head of sales, Erica did 3 work with just in the last 2 weeks. And when we went to the trade show, it was like
You got on the
so,
work with schedule. Good for you. That's good. How
yeah.
many months
And
out did you have to put in for
I
that?
know. But what was the best is that one of the women who she did the work with came up to our, she's like, oh my gosh, you were the most responsive. Like she had already done a recap, reached out, thanked every like account, followed up. Like that follow up, that's the like key. And the fact that as a really small team, we respond. Someone's like, hey, I mean, account yesterday. So can you do a table time? Like, yes, done. Like we can get that right away. Like
Yeah.
we're small but really scrappy. And I think also that's helpful to get distributors on your side when they realize like how responsive. I mean,
Yeah, the
I'm
worst thing you do is you meet with that rep and then they call you, you never follow up and do something for them, they'll forget about you. But so you're responsive and you're getting what they need because that helps them, right? So they see that and then they're more apt to support you. So next time they're walking around with their bag, they're going to remember what you did for them.
totally. And even like we sent a deck to present to like a retail account and we got the
Yeah.
feedback that it was like one of the best decks they've ever seen. And they get them from like all these big brands. And we put together, it was
Right.
like, because we do it personalized. No one's gonna take time, like to that specific, account
Yeah.
and why we fit and why we want it. And that's like, so those kinds of things, feedback like that from our distributors, I think that's what helps, um, get them on board.
Yeah. That's amazing. How do people find you?
Yes. Well, first connect with me on LinkedIn because that's my jam. Mara Smith on LinkedIn. Follow Inspiro Tequila on all social media platforms that luckily no one puts me in control of or in charge of because I'm not good at social media. On at Inspiro Tequila. Find us on inspirotequila.com. We ship all over the country, um, or find us locally because we love if you could buy us locally.
Are you in all the Benny stores in Chicago?
We're in many of them. We're not in all of them. We're in all the top tequila stores. I
Okay.
think we're in like almost all the Jewel Oscos. We're in all the Whole Foods here. Um, Sunset Foods. We're in some other like independent stores
And
too.
how many varieties of the of your brand do you have? Do you have like Añejo,
Yes,
Blanco,
we really have
Repo?
two core expressions. We have our Luna Blanco, our Blanco that's rested in bourbon barrels. Um, and then we have our Reposado that's aged in rosé wine barrels. Um, and then we had very limited special edition añejo. We only had 4 barrels full of it. So like,
Okay.
and we're not aging any of it right now. So it was like a kind of a one-time limited thing. It's crazy, insanely good. But that is 4 months in rosé wine barrels, 15 and a half months in French Pinot Noir barrels, and it's cask strength 44 ABV. But we had a very like even here there are only like 2 Binnies that even carry it here. So you can find it online and then very few
That's good.
places
I
because
think
we just don't
limited
have a
time
lot.
offering is the way to go in a lot of ways. You do some limited releases and stuff and make them special,
Yeah.
which is really cool. What's any new innovation coming down the line you want to share with anybody? Anything happening?
So, you know, it's kind of funny. We've talked a lot about me being very disciplined and focused on things. Obviously, you could tell I have this like accounting and legal background, but I'd say so we're very SKU disciplined. So no, not coming up with like new expressions, but I think some new sizes. So when we get this new production run out, we're really excited. We're gonna have a 375 ml and a mini 50 ml that is an exact replica of our big bottle, which people love our
Wow.
bottles, and it's like so cute, and it's like an exact replica of our bottle. So I think that can, great for trial. Like I get asked for so many things or gift bags or parties or whatever. And like, you can't really put a 750 ml in there.
Yeah.
So I think that, um, will provide a lot of opportunities to get more
Do
people
you
to
have
be able to
swag
try the
that people can
product.
order? Like, can you go online and order like
We
hats and
do.
t-shirts?
We do. We do. We have swag on our. We've really cute. Well, as you know, I'm always drinking like either coffee or matcha.
Yeah.
So we have really cool coffee mugs. It's like coffee now, tequila later. We have one that's a matcha one. So we have a lot of mugs. We have a yoga mat. We have like a bunch of different things. Sweatshirts. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, now I haven't asked the most important question. So this we ask everybody that comes on. What is the difference between success and failure?
I think I'm hopefully going to give you a little bit of a different answer. I think it's perspective. I think everyone perceives success and failure differently. And so what I would perceive is like, um, maybe someone who looks really successful, they may also see that as that they don't feel successful yet. So I think it's so much of like how you view things. And because when I thought about this question, I am someone who's really terrible at celebrating the wins and is always looking at like, what do we need to do better? Where do we need to be at next? Um, and so I'm someone
You're
who
not in
I
the
can't
moment.
imagine.
Yeah, you're not celebrating the moment.
No, I'm always the person like looking what's next. How can we be better? What can I do better? What do we not do? Where do we need to be? So I'm someone who I don't think would ever be like, oh, this is like so successful. I think I would always be like, what's next? Not that I would think failure, but I would think what's, and then I also think there's so many different forms of success. And I try and remind myself of that too. So that's why I think it's also perspective. Let's say you and I both have, our three kids. Is that for me? Is that success? If I have three kind, good people as children, that could be my success. So that's why I just think it's all about like your perspective and what you think is success.
I love that. I love that. I appreciate you sharing that with me. And we ask that question to everybody, and that's an answer that we have not gotten yet. So it is new, and that drives you. What keeps you going? Like, so you have perspective,
Besides
right? But
caffeine.
yeah, I haven't had my matcha. I told you on the text last night, or I'm gonna get my
I
matcha in
know.
hand. I didn't make my matcha, but you do iced matcha. I do mine warm, and I have a whole process of how I make my
I do.
matcha.
I make ceremonial grade everything. I take the whisk, the whole thing, the bowl, the
Oh, you?
whisk.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, every single morning. That's my like routine. That's the
Uh,
only thing I do that's like routine. I just like cold drinks. Um, what keeps me going is really when I get the positive like feedback. So another reason why when we're talking about like doing events and things, I love doing consumer facing events because consumers are like, you're giving them tastes of like a delicious, drink and they're happy. And they give you, when I get this like positive, like, oh my gosh, I never thought I could drink. Literally yesterday, I can't drink tequila. I drink vodka, tequila. I can't drink it. And I give them a neat pour. I'm like, just try the Blanco. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can drink it. Those are the things that consumer feedback that is literally what drives me. Like sometimes people like Erica's like, okay, you want to do more events? Like you really want to do, or more demos, like standing in more stores doing demos. I'm like, I like that because I get like the one-on-one feedback. Going into trade is much more difficult. You don't get the warm and fuzzies. Like people kind of look at you. I'm like, and like they don't want to give you a read on them. Like,
right.
you like it, you don't like it. What do you think? Like they're, because it's a negotiating like tactic. But consumers just give you this like great real feedback, and um that is totally what keeps me going. That's like literally why I pop up like unannounced to my local grocery store and will like show up on a Saturday and just stand there just to like have people try it, just so I can like talk to people and hear what they think.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining today. Sorry we had some technical difficulties to get going, and it was me the whole time, which
Not a problem.
uh, 90% of the time it is. Someone hit my phone or the computer. I didn't know it shut off, but that's what makes it fun to go live, raw, and real. I'll ask you to remain on the line.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any closing thoughts. Please share.
No, just I appreciate what you do for the industry and everyone who's trying to help like emerging brands, and that means
Yeah.
a lot. And just people connect, like find find guidance along the way. That's like my only thing is that I'm fortunate. And and just also be open to taking it. I think I position myself as a learn it all and not a know it all. And just being inquisitive and wanting to learn more. It doesn't mean you have to like follow everything. You need to like, go through because you're gonna get so much advice, right? I got like 100 comments on a shelf plate. I can't take everybody's. So you have to like you're not gonna take everybody's opinions, but I think just listening and being open to like listening and getting a lot of like feedback is really helpful.
No, I love that perspective, by the way, to be open to learn. Also, you taught me something incredible that I'll probably take. I mean, I've learned so much the last 4 years doing this podcast. But when I go talk to other founders, we always like go do a beverage event, and you really open my eyes to something that's an opportunity, which is really amazing. And we learn so much, from founders like you. And I think it's wonderful that you share with other founders. I wouldn't be where I'm at. Matter of fact, when I opened up my first business as an entrepreneur, it was a company called Drink. And I remember talking to other people that did it, and they're like, "Well, you got to do an SOW." I'm like, "What's an SOW? A scope of work." I'm like, "What is?" So how does that work? "Oh, I'll send you over my scope of work." And everybody was so open about sharing and learning, and that's what at least the exposure I've had with people on all sides of this industry, from service providers to distributors to suppliers to founders to accounts. I truly believe that people like to see people win, at least in this business, and that's what I love about it. And I love your energy, and I'm going to get
Thank
my
you.
matcha today, and I want to thank everybody
I will.
for being here and riding the roller coaster with Mara and I.
Thank you. I'm gonna
It's
give
been
one
fun.
last tip. I forgot
Yeah.
my lawyer tip. Do not sign bad contracts. I see a lot of really bad contracts. Do not sign bad contracts.
That is, it's interesting you say that. Does if anyone ask for 10 years of your revenue if you leave or something like that? But
I mean, just like you see them all over. People pull down stuff like you can't just pull agreements off like a chat GPT. Like it
yeah,
takes eyeballs and legal eyes and just don't. I think a lot of times like small brands feel like they're gonna be strong on whatever the agreement with whoever and they don't have any negotiating power. And I just think you always have to negotiate and make sure you can't sign on to things that you may have to live with for a really, really long time.
that does a great point. And if you're trying to get you to sign something that is basically not going to allow you to do something for your business, and don't do it.
Yes.
So
I just
it
see too much of
agree.
it.
Yeah, I bet. All right, I'm gonna hit stop. Please
Thank
remain
you.
on the line, and then thank everybody. Have a great Saturday. Sorry we were running late, and we'll see you next week.